Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and this is our Good Friday message. I don't know about you, but I can remember when it was quite exciting at the thought of getting another channel on TV. Well, now we've gone from 3 to 4 to 5 to what seems like an infinite number of channels. How things were when I'm growing up is definitely not how they are now. And there's a sense of that in the reading I got today. This is from Hebrews chapter 9, verses 14 and 15. How much more then will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself unblemished to God, cleanse our consciences from acts that lead to death, so that we may serve the living God? For this reason, Christ is the mediator of a new covenant, that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, now that he has died as a ransom to set them free from the sins committed under the first covenant. There's been a big change. The background to this letter is the writer writing to some Jewish Christians who were suffering a very, very hard time. But they were thinking if they went back to their old religion, everything would be better. For one, the Jews were exempt from emperor worship, so they wouldn't be persecuted. And two, they'd be welcomed back into the Jewish community, which would have shunned them when they converted to Christianity. But the writer of this letter is saying that really won't do, because everything has changed. There's no more sacrifice. The things they used to put their faith in, the things that were very visual and the things that would have been sort of an encouragement to them, are not necessary anymore. The reason? Jesus has changed all that. Jesus is the perfect sacrifice. We see in verse 14 that he offered himself unblemished to God. He was the perfect sacrifice. And the amazing thing is this: whereas sacrifices had to be offered each day in the temple, reason for that was people tend to sin a lot. Jesus offered that sacrifice once. That was the thing that made the difference. This is how things are now. There's been one sacrifice, and that comes up again and again in the book of Hebrews. One sacrifice is necessary, and that's Christ's sacrifice on the cross. Not the day after day sacrifices that the priests used to carry out in the temple. So there's a new way. Verse 15, for this reason, in some versions reads therefore. In other words, the writer is drawing a conclusion. And the conclusion is this, verse 15, for this reason, Christ is the mediator of the new covenant, that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, now that he has died as a ransom to set them free from the sins committed under the first covenant. Jesus is the mediator. That's what priests did. They mediated between God and the people. And this is it, isn't it? That now the only way to God is through Jesus. That was the only way that is really acceptable. Here's the point. God calls out to us and reaches out to us through Jesus Christ. We may remember that Jesus once said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And here's the wonderful thing. All that stuff that would have got in the way, our sin, which is really just us going our own way, rebelling against God, has been dealt with. He's paid for it. That's why the word ransom is used. Paul, when writing to the Corinthian church, puts it this way. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 21. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Christ has taken our sin at the cross. That's what he agreed with his Father to do. And now the difference is that we are given a righteousness. That's the grace of the Christian message and the Easter message. I hope you have a really good Easter and enjoy all the trappings and whatever that comes with it. But remember, the key thing about Good Friday, and the reasons it is good, is that Jesus has paid for our sins when we turn to him and ask for forgiveness. Thank you so much for listening.